And thank you, Ron. I saw the applause. I appreciate it. And now on to the main event. Mr. Shawn Woods is President and CEO of Shawn K. Woods and Associates, an organization committed to empowering businesses and individuals to unleash their full potential. An international trainer and facilitator, author, executive life career coach, he has delivered keynote presentations and leadership training to Fortune 500 companies, small business owners, government and nonprofit organizations throughout the United States, Canada, Europe, and Africa. Through Shawn's experience and diverse background, he has helped clients decrease turnover, increase accountability, effectiveness, and productivity. Shawn is the youngest of 11 children, bless your mother, and was raised in a dual-parent household on the west side of Chicago where drugs, gangs, and violence were a dominant part of his everyday life. Faced with difficult choices every day, some of his juvenile decisions eventually cost him several full-ride scholarships to play D1 football. With courage to overcome his difficult childhood and a tough journey ahead of him, Shawn redirected his energy to reshape his future. Shawn has since achieved great academic and professional success. He has held numerous positions as a law enforcement officer, decorated detective, hostage negotiator, assistant director of human resources for the Board of Education, as well as an investigator for the Office of the Executive Inspector General for the state of Illinois. In addition to the training and development company, Shawn also developed his own real estate investment and property management company, is president and CEO of his own private detective agency. And if you ever get a chance to talk to him about stories about that, they're awesome. These professional accomplishments are part of the foundation that Shawn leverages to help businesses and individuals unleash their full potential. Please give a warm chamber welcome from wherever you are to Mr. Shawn Woods.
Thank you. That was wonderful, Justine. I need to take you on the road with me. I appreciate it. I love it. It's a pleasure to have all of you here. It's a pleasure to be here. Out of all of those things that Justine mentioned, this is the thing that I love to do the most. When I left corporate to be an entrepreneur, I said, I'm only going to do things in life that I love to do. So I get to do the things that I love to do. But if I could only do one thing in life, I'll give up real estate investing and property management. I'll give up private detective work, and Justine can tell you some juicy stories. I love following cheaters in my spare time. But more importantly, I'd rather be doing nothing else but this. So welcome aboard. It's going to be a wonderful ride. This 1 hour is going to go by so fast. Shortly, once a few more people join, I'll go ahead and put in my bio, my official bio. I'll put that into the group chat. Please, if everyone can have the group chat open, because we will be typing in the group chat. There's a lot of things we're going to be doing. I'm going to give you some moving parts in this 1 hour. We're going to do some polls. It's going to be very exciting. Also, if you can open the participant tab, as Justine mentioned, and have that open so you can see everyone, and you can use the yes, the no button. If you keep that participant tab open, then there's the yes button, there's the no button, there's the go slower, go faster. You probably won't use those. There's more. Under more, if you hover over more, you can give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, a virtual clap. If you can't do that and your camera's on, you can just always clap and do this. And it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful ride here. So once again, welcome to Leading Virtually in the New Workplace. At the end, I have a special giveaway. I'm going to give away a free assessment for anyone that's interested, and I'll tell you how to get that assessment at the end. With that being said, I'm going to get right to the program for this power hour. How do you get the most of this session and program? Participate. Give me some energy. Give me some engagement. It's 8:36 Chicago time where I am. That means it's early. I don't drink coffee and I'm souped up and ready to go. I got 3.5 hours of sleep last night. Homicide ruined me. I never get more than 5, and I'm souped up and ready to go. All right, we're going to use the chat panel. We're going to do polls. I'm not going to do any whiteboards. In place of whiteboards today, I'll do the group chat. So again, make sure everyone has the group chat. At the end, I'll leave some time for Q&A. And Justine already told you about me, and no one can do it better than her. So I'm taking her on the road with me starting today. So Chamber, get ready, because she's going to be missing a lot of time. with that being said, as we think about this program, leading virtually in the new workplace, COVID hit. I know my world shut down in March the 12th of this year. My world completely changed because that's when it was officially declared that we're in a pandemic and states were starting to shut down. At that point in time, I had never done a virtual training. And I was like, what am I going to do? My schedule stays full. I travel over 300,000 air miles a year. And I'm up in the air. I feel like I'm George Clooney in that movie, Up in the Air. Had never done a virtual. And I said, wow, how can I give my same energy? How can I get the same productive results doing virtual trainings? Well, it's been a wonderful ride. From March the 12th to now, I've done 76 virtuals. So you have to adapt to the new norm. And now I'm loving virtual, right? Sometimes I can be fully dressed like today. Other times, well, I'll let you use your own imagination as long as I'm appropriate on camera. But I want to know from you, what worries you about this new virtual workplace? Can everyone use the group chat feature? And I'm going to give you about 30 seconds or so and try to be actively engaged and participate. Type in the group chat. What are your biggest worries about working virtual? Whether it's leading virtually, whether it's managing virtually, what are your biggest worries? Lack of engagement. Can keep employees engaged, and can we keep employees engaged and committed? Get worried that my employees will disconnect from the culture of the workplace and team. We're going to talk about culture today, Brian. That's big. Loss of connection, true connection. Is it true? Will people be multitasking? And yeah, I agree. It's like a handful of us have cameras on now and some don't have cameras. Most times I make it a requirement, especially doing training sessions, they have to have their cameras on, right? Staying connected to members, right? Loss of mentoring, loss of connections, especially if you can't see them. And that's one of the things that I suggest you do when working virtually. Suggest that if we were face to face, we couldn't hide, we couldn't put a screen up in front of us. So on virtual, make sure people turn those cameras on. I'm hoping everyone turned them on today. I won't force you because you still want individuals to feel comfortable. Let's take a few more. We have 30 participants on call and I had a handful of answers. Give me one or two more. You know, if you didn't participate yet, go ahead and start typing. Get those fingers awake. Right? But the biggest fears that we have are that people are not up to speed with technology, loss of productivity. Give me a couple more. Maintain the company culture, right? We aren't talking enough. How do you get people actively engaged in talking? And believe it or not, like I said, I've done over 70 workshops virtually and I get people talking. Number one, everyone. And in the training sessions, everyone has to have a camera on. If they have a camera on, we can see them. Then it's up to me to engage them. I'm calling individuals. Every few minutes, I'm putting them in a breakout session, right? I'm pairing them with different groups in a breakout. I'm making my breakouts small, right? Someone says not connecting enough, may seem isolated. And you have, like you say, tech savvy. You see a name up there, Shawn Woods 2. That simply means I have another computer in case this one shuts down. I'll reach over there and grab my other one and I'll start typing on that one, right? You see me looking over here. I'm reading. It says keep the motivation, loss of empathy, not trusting authority. And I'm not even looking at the camera. Over here, I have 4 computers. It's like I'm in a bat lab. I have 4 screens, 2 computers, and I'm just moving all around. Laundry, doorbells ringing, babies are crying. It's hard to maintain a team. My friends, yeah, all of those things worry us. When I think about the sessions that I've done, when I think about what individuals say, when I compile the data, some of the top things, in addition to those things that you told me, a lot of the things that people say when we ask them, what's your biggest worry with working virtually? They say things like, I need to ensure that the work gets done, Shawn. People are multitasking. How do I get people to stop multitasking and focus, right? People will abuse working virtually. They won't spend a lot of time. Well, get used to it. A bunch of my clients, I'm coaching in big organizations, whether it's like the Kellogg's of the world, the Kraft Heinz of the world, the American Expresses of the world, the Allstates of the world. I'm coaching everyone from CEOs, CFOs, down to regular employees. And so many of the organizations that I coach and consult in, they're now saying that they're going to allow a majority of their workforce to continue working from home even after the pandemic. Poor work quality. Well, some of these organizations don't think they're getting poor work quality because they're thinking about making it mandatory or making it optional that their employees can work from home permanently. They're going to save money on rents, building expenses, missing the social aspects of work. Absolutely. Especially when we're doing virtual and individuals are not on cameras, we miss that face to face. Right? We miss it. Just being able to sometimes, for those of us that's touchy feely, to reach out and pat someone on the shoulder or just really see their entire, I'm a big communicator. Body language is 59% total communication. So being able to see everything about them, see what they're doing with their feet. If it's 59% total communication, and maybe it's the cop in me, I'm reading individuals all the time. We miss the interaction and the ideas that come when people are together. Yeah, all of those things can present challenges. But you know what I say about change? It is a change, and we have to change with it. We have to embrace it, because if we don't change with change, change will change us. It's important to know, as you think about change, it is not the change that does us in. So many times people say it was that change, but it's not the change that does us in. It's not the change that conquers us. It's the transition. A lot of times we fail to transition. When you change, you have to have a grieving period. And we don't allow ourselves enough time, or sometimes it's too much time, to get through the grieving period before we start saying, I can't do it. It is the transition that does us in. So how do we prepare for that transition? Have a plan. As with anything we do, we have to have a plan. The way I deal with it, Justine, is I simply say, what's the absolute worst that can happen to me as a result of this change? And then I prepare to accept it, Molly, if I have to. I come up with a plan, Kelly, and then I proceed on, expecting the best, Patricia, and prepared for the worst. And then I have multiple options. It's like multiple streams. So I ask you this question today. With these things that you wrote, these things like staying connected, people are not up to speed with technology, too many distractions, and these things that you see on my slide, ensuring the work gets done, people abusing it, poor work quality, if would these things be issues if we learn how to lead effectively and lead virtually? Let me answer the question. These things would not be major issues. We would mitigate it, and we would definitely overcome it. So how do we do it, Shawn? The way we overcome it is you have to lead effectively. What is leading effectively? Leading effectively is leading in a virtual environment. We have to know it's more important than ever. But how does it differ from everyday leadership? Can I practice the same leadership practices? Yes, the theory is the same. The practices are different, especially some of us that are introverted. Now you're face to face, you're on a camera, you're the center of attention. And for those of us that's extroverted, it's me. Molly, I'm a walker. You see this animation now, even on a couple of hours of sleep. I walk and talk. I talk with my hands. The body language is still there. I'm twisting and turning in my seat. The challenge for me is containing the energy. Sometimes I just want to start moving around like when I'm facilitating face to face and I'm wearing my Fitbit, I sometimes will get 10,000 steps in a 6-hour seminar because I'm all over the place. So now how do I get my 10,000 steps, Ronald, sitting in a chair, right? Like right now, I'm just paddling my feet. I'm going because I'm so excited to be here. Leading virtual teams, it's not a fad. It's important for you to know it is the new normal. What is the new normal? Let's take a look at it. Well, I heard what you said. You said laundry, doorbells ringing. Missing relationship with my coworkers. You said holding people accountable. But look, this was adapted from Inc. magazine on October 2019. They saw this coming. I'm a partner with the Ken Blanchard companies. I'm a channel partner with them. So I spent a lot of work with Blanchard people and talking Blanchard products. And the Ken Blanchard companies just recently did a big survey and they found the same results. Well, here we go. If done correctly, remote workers can be more productive. They can be less distracted, although you're playing parent, you're playing teacher, you're playing counselor, you're doing so many new roles. Working virtually, it can be more engaging. It can allow you to have a better work-life balance if you have a plan. You can save money for the company, save money and time commuting. One of my personal coaching clients said, I'm loving this virtual, Shawn. I've only filled up my car once in a 2-month period. I'm used to filling up 3 times a week. And virtual workers are willing to work longer to meet deadlines and outcomes. Now, that's a majority. It's not everyone. And we have to know working virtual, working remote is not for everyone. But if it's mandatory in your organizations, you have to make sure that people are aware of what they need to do. Someone said, I find some of those results kind of surprising. Brian said it, especially the more engaged one, right? Shouldn't we also worry about people working more and burning out, not having good boundaries? Brian, that's a great question. We have to worry about all of these things. And that's where good leadership comes into play. Well, you know what I see, Molly? I see more people being burned out when they were going to work every day because they have a 1 or 2 hour commute to work. They work 8 to 12 hours a day. They have a 1 to 2 hour commute back. Then they have to do family things. And then they log onto their computers all night long. So I'm wondering, how do we have a work-life balance? Because I've seen individuals, right? A lot of the people, and I'm coaching thousands of people during the course of a year. And most of those people, even when they're not working remote, they're spending so much of their time working. They never detach. They never get away. The good news is, Brian, if these things in working remotely is done correctly, if the leadership is more in tune with their employees, more check-ins, then it's a good thing. And if we're going to do things the same way that we did them when we were working face-to-face, it can be a bad thing. There's 3 points that I'm going to cover with you today. I want to cover so many, but I only have time for 3. Effective leaders, they ensure that the business thrives and employees perform their best. I'm going to give you some tips, tricks, and tools on how to do that. They find ways to grow their relationships internally and externally. They're more connected. They help organizations and employees succeed. How do we do that? How do we accomplish these 3 things, Shawn? If I'm going to be a more effective leader, if I'm going to ensure that the business thrives and employees perform their best, there's 2 things that you can do. What I want you to do, Becky and Samantha and Cody and Brenda and Abby and Pat, I want you to create a foundation for work so that people understand what's expected and how you're going to support them even though you're not face-to-face. Set SMART goals and objectives. Create balance. Create alignment. Communicate effectively. Now, during this virtual world, you have to over-communicate. Communicate, and over-communicate. Now I ask you a question. How can you ensure the business and your employees thrive? Let me type it in. How can you ensure your business and employees thrive? Type some answers in group chat for me. Answer that question for me. Also, Justine said, could you define more check-ins from employees and managers to their employees? Wouldn't this turn into micromanaging? Let's answer that one, Justine, at Q&A. Can you hold that one for me? Make sure you bring it to me at Q&A. That's an awesome question. How can you ensure your business and employees thrive? Answer that one in group chat for me. Give me some answers. I'm gonna give you about 15, 20 seconds because I have to keep moving. Try to give me some answers there. Weekly 15-minute chats. That is not work related. I like that, Kelly. Making sure you stay in touch with employees and letting them know you care about them. Yes, validate concerns or thoughts they're having, Abby. Great one. Check-ins, weekly one-on-one meetings. Show them you care. Yes, communicate. Send messages of how they're doing. Fun gift cards, recognition. Yes, we have to be creative. We have to change with the times. I'm going to say, monitor the KPIs, the key performance indicators. Make your employees feel empowered. Create this thing that we call alignment. Foundations for work. Justine, to partially answer your question now, we have to ask. It's not, I say give your employees what they need, but not more than what they need. I'm a big situational leadership guy. I partner with the Ken Blanchard companies. I teach it around the world. And if you're a situational leader, and only 1% of leaders around the world are situational leaders, there's 4 leadership styles. That means, are you a director? Are you a coach? Are you a supporter? Are you a delegator? Those are the 4 leadership styles, and we should be using them all the time. Me, I give my employees what they need, but not more than what they need. In other words, I might say, Molly, here's a task for you. I need you to go scuba diving below 90 feet. Are you a doer or are you a learner? And if Molly says, Shawn, you know what? I'm a learner. I haven't been scuba diving before. How do you feel about it, Molly? You want to do it? Yes. She's what we call an enthusiastic beginner. She has low to some competence, but she's very committed. I need to give Molly step-by-step directions on how to do that task. And then I ask her, what are the intervals that you think we should check in? Especially given that we're in a virtual world, I like to have more connections and checkpoints than I normally would. What can we do to ensure you get the support that you need, the levels of direction, coaching, and engagement that you need from me without feeling micromanaged and without feeling under supervised? This is just simple conversation, Justine. You ask your employees what they need, or you say, I have a report that's due to my boss in 60 days. I'm delegating it to you. And I'd like 3 check-in points to make sure that we don't have any surprises. Let's agree and collaborate on the intervals. Open dialogue, crisp, clear communication, and you'll be able to get the things that you need. We talked about creating that foundation for work so that people understand what's expected. I have a 4-step process on how to do that. Let me give it to you. What I want you to do is, number 1, I want you to clearly explain why you do what you do. As a leader, you clearly explain to your employees and your staff why you're doing what you're doing. And you ask them, is it okay with them? I always teach, get permission. The best leaders get permission from their from the individuals they lead on how to lead, what leadership style, what communication style. You define what's okay and not okay, especially in a virtual environment. You let individuals know. You have to have what I call vulnerability-based trust. Make yourselves vulnerable. Let your team members know what fears you have, what reservations you have. Assign responsibilities and accountabilities, and allocate support and resources. Don't just give them the resources you think they need. I like to ask, what resources do you need, internal and external, to assist you in being successful? If you want to build a solid foundation, these are the 4 things that you need to do. Next up is all about goals and objectives. When you think about the goals and objectives, what does that mean, Shawn? I'm going to seg into a survey here. Let's do our first survey. Let's take a poll. All right. So survey number 1, I'm going to launch it. All right. It says, what key performance indicators do you use? It's multiple choice. Go ahead and pick as many as you want. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to do it. You're on the clock. 10 seconds. Couple of voting. We're almost there. Out of 31 individuals, I have about 26. 4, 3, 2. I'm going to end the polling. I am going to share the results. As you look at the results, most of us, 65% of us said financial goals and metrics, gross revenues, net income. Next was the process goals and metrics. 62% of you said that, right? Efficiencies, quality indicators. Wow. Oh, look at what we have here. This is your group, right? And it varies from group to group. All righty. So now let's continue on. I want you to take this opportunity to think about your KPIs, right? Now, think about those things. KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. When you think about key performance indicators, let's go over to group chat. And I want you to answer this question. What are the most important KPIs during virtual times? What are the most important KPIs? Answer that in group chat. What are the most important KPIs? And it varies. There's no right or wrong answers. I just want to create a list. What do you think are the most important? Consistency, financial margin, Brian. Abby said consistency. Let's give me as many as you can. I'm going to give me in 15 seconds. Try to give me as many as you can. Go ahead and use that chat feature. Meeting deadlines, right? The response from the meeting that intended. Meeting project tasks are completed afterwards. Respect for direct supervisors, employee engagement. Give me a couple more. Engagement, right? They vary. There's no right or wrong answer there. All right. So if we're going to have all of these KPIs, if we're going to reach goals and objectives, if we're going to lay the right foundation, it's important that you set goals and you make them smart. Now, most of us, we know what SMART goals are. When we have a SMART goal, you have to make that goal specific, right? Measurable, attainable, relevant or realistic, and time bound. SMART seems easy, right? Shawn, okay, make it specific. We'd like to improve our customer service. Well, that's not specific. That's not a SMART goal, right? You have to, if you say, we would like to improve customer service by reducing hold times, right? And we'd have a minimum hold time of 60 seconds. And we'd like to do this by December the 31st, 2020. That's a SMART goal. That's SMART because it's specific. We can measure it because if I get to January and calls are still taking 3 minutes, then we didn't meet it. It's attainable because we have an opportunity. We have a couple months to practice it, to get some coaching and training on it. It's relevant because customers are tired of being on hold for extended long times. And it's time-based because we set a time and we have the number of seconds that we're looking to do. So let me quiz you really quickly. I said earlier, Justine, I'm going to keep them engaged. One way to keep you engaged is to do group chat, is to do polls, is to have you just get actively engaged and involved. So look at my slide. There's several things there to sell more widgets this month, to increase revenue by 20%, to increase sales by 10% this quarter, to generate 10 more leads this week, to reduce spending by $10,000, or to complete the project on time and budget. I want you to use the group chat and pick a letter or letters and tell me which one or ones are SMART. I'll give you about 15 seconds. Take a guess. Get some answers in there. Let's get some answers in there. Show me what you can do. Don't worry about being wrong. Don't worry about being right. Besides, so many things are subjective anyway. All right. Here's what I would say. I would say it depends on how you look at it. It depends on how you look at attainable and relevant. But for sure, C and D have the potential to be smart, while the others lack certain information. If you had C and D, or a combination of C or D, they have the potential to be smart, while others lack certain information. Now, let me give you a trick. So many times when I'm in organizations around the world and they're trying to set SMART goals, they say, Shawn, it's hard to get all 5 of the criteria. I'm going to give you a cheat sheet. If you can get all 5, it's solid. If you can get the S and the T, even if you don't get any others, it's almost good enough or good enough to be considered smart. So I call it, and I took this from Ken Blanchard, we call it STRAM, S-T-R-A-M. If you can hit the specific first, the time second, and then R-A-M, relevant, attainable, and measurable. STRAM. I'll put it over in group chat so you can get it. Make your goals smart. If you can't make it smart, make it STRAM. Hit the S and hit the T, and it will be good enough to be smart. Now, don't say Shawn told me that I don't have to have the other 3. If you can get the S and the T, it is good enough and a good start. With that being said, let's take another survey. And this will be the last survey of today. Let me launch it. As I launch it and go to my next one, here we go. Let me get to my next one. Yeah, I'm going to launch it. Now, several questions there. Number 1, do your employees understand how each team and person contributes to the ultimate goal? That's number 1. Answer each question on the likelihood of highly agree, somewhat disagree, or highly disagree. Number 2, are decisions made within your team that lead directly to your business, right? Highly agree, somewhat disagree, highly disagree. And number 3, do your employees at all levels feel committed to your goals and objectives? Be open and be honest there. I'll give you 30 seconds more. 30 seconds more. %78 of you voted. Give you a few more seconds, about 5 seconds more, and I'm going to end it and show you the results. All righty. Now I'm going to share the results with you. As we look at number 1, do your employees understand how each team and person contributes to the ultimate goal? 48% of you said you somewhat agree. 30% said you highly agree. Number 2, are decisions made within your team that lead directly to your business? 52% of you said you somewhat agree. We didn't have any disagrees. That's good, right? And number 3, do your employees at all levels feel committed to your goals and objectives? 67% of you say you somewhat agree. In order to really answer that question with more accuracy, what you have to do is make sure you're in tune with your employees, make sure that they can challenge the status quo, make sure that they can let you know how they truly feel without any reprisal, without any repercussion, and that they can be open and honest with you. All righty. Now we're going to get back to it. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being actively engaged. You are not letting me down. And Justine, you did not lie to me. She said, Shawn, it's going to be early morning. They will be engaged. So bring your A game. All right, my friends, effective leaders. They find ways to grow relationships, both internally and externally, virtually and face-to-face. They do this by fostering a culture that develops people and builds their reputation. What is your brand? What are you sending? What message are you sending? Have you taken the time to sit down with those you lead and simply say, we're operating in a new norm. Here's what scares me. Here's what I'm afraid of. What scares you? What are you afraid of? What can I do to assist you? What are you doing? I need you. Yes, I'm your boss. I need you to help me. help me with. Lay the foundation. That's the beginning of engagement. If you can lay the foundation, if you can engage your people, if you can be open and honest with your people, that's good leadership. And that type of leadership equals good, positive engagement. How do we do it? Check-ins. Frequent and regular conversations, Justine. Now, what's frequent and regular? Agree. I like that word, agree. Get agreement. I train and teach leaders that I'm coaching around the world. Get agreement. Get buy-in. Old school leadership is just what you think, and you're bringing it from the top down. New school leadership is servant leadership, situational leadership, right? If someone asks me today, Ronald, what type of leader are you, Shawn? I'm going to say it depends. It depends on what? On the situation. I'm a situational leader. I'm a flexible leader. I flex my style to my people and the situation. Keep in mind, you're going to have more frequent check-ins when you're virtually. You have to. Virtual conversations are different in so many ways. You have to thoroughly prepare, over-communicate, communicate simple. Try not to use many big words and phrases. Keep it short, keep it simple, keep it more frequent. What's frequent? Mutually discuss it. You have to become more personal with your peers and employees. Please don't just hide behind a screen with your cameras off. If you're worried that someone's going to see your background, if you don't like your background, if you're operating in the closet at home, wherever you are, if you're at the park, you can get a virtual background. It's important to know some of the virtual backgrounds, Margie, are distracting. If you have you ever talked to someone, yes, I love it, Brian. I'm jealous. I'm so jealous. Brian, invite me. But yes, create a virtual background. And sometimes virtual backgrounds are tricky because as the person moves, the head gets cut off and all of those things. You can get a green screen. Go on Amazon and get a green screen. That will eliminate that head getting chopped off, your arms getting chopped off. But you have to stay engaged. As you think about your culture, let me ask you some questions about culture. Is culture really a thing? Is culture really important? And how do you create it when working virtually? So let me ask you some questions as you think about that. Let's use group chat. All right, the first one is in there. What was your pre-COVID culture like? Answer that question for me. Think pre-COVID. Think prior to March. What was your pre-COVID culture like? Let's get some answers there. Right? Someone said they're not send me in chat. All right. I don't know, Justine, check it again, or maybe, let me see, I got your back, because they're there, because as long as others are responding, they're coming up. Okay, all right, hugs and handshakes. Work is important, but family first. We take our time to do things right, fully loaded. We had a strong culture of regular in-person meetings, daily huddles, regular check-ins. People felt connected and cared for. Give me a couple more. I'm gonna give you 10 seconds more. What was your pre-COVID culture like? I'm going down a trajectory here. A lot of interruptions, lots of meetings and luncheons, team building, warmed up each day with personal connections. Yes. All right. So part two then. How does culture impact how you lead? Answer that question. How does culture impact how you lead? Thinking about culture, how does it impact how you lead? Right? Because culture plays a role. We have to identify our culture. If we used to hugs and handshakes, now we can't do hugs and handshakes, and we're virtual. How does that impact how you lead? Let's take a few answers in group chat. Flexible, people matter, Margie. I love that one. You're so right. Brian said you have to flex your style, right? Amy said culture is paramount to leadership. It is. We need to adapt our leadership based on the needs of our culture. I love that one, Amy. Whether it's where you want to be or you're growing into a strong culture, yes. You have to be more aware of how you behave, Patricia. Yes. Be aware of what you do. Be aware of what your employees need. I love it, Brian. People first. People should always be first. All righty. A virtual culture is different. It's totally different than a face-to-face. If your normal culture pre-COVID was very engaging, collaborative, you had a hands-on environment, like some of you said, where people came together frequently to work on things. Now you're in a virtual state. You have to start thinking, how does the virtual state impact innovation, creativity, and collaboration? So I'm going to say that again. How does virtual impact innovation, creativity? How does it do it? And collaboration. If I spelled it wrong, don't beat me up. So answer that question for me now. How does virtual impact innovation, creativity, and collaboration? While you give me some answers, I'm going to give you some. Virtual will impact it because you're not face-to-face when collaborating. You don't see each other. Sometimes you can't see the body language. Sometimes you can't understand the tone. Virtual plays a role. One way to mitigate that is to make sure everyone turn cameras on. I collaborate with my team virtually by going around the room. I do more round robins, right? As someone said, Justine said, it's hard, when you're brainstorming, it's hard to do that virtually, right? Spitballing ideas around the room. We can do it just like this. We can do these group chats, Justine. It's not the same. It is the new normal, right? Get people. Say, hey, Tim, when you say conversations need more to be more intentional, what do you mean? I understand what you mean. You don't have to answer that, Tim, but that's how you do it. Read what people say out loud. Challenge people to put it in. If you look at the group chat and you're not getting enough information in group chat, Justine, I'll move individuals to breakout rooms. Sometimes I'll start off with breakout rooms of 4 to 5 people. If I'm not getting enough, I'll put people in breakout rooms of 2 where they're pair sharing. I'll then say use a Word document or writing tool on your computer, type your answers, and when you get back to the main session, put them into the group chat. Those are all ways that I engage individuals. What if I was face-to-face with you at the chamber? I'd be doing these same things. What I have you doing in group chat, I'll have a flip chart at your tables, and I'll have you doing these same things. I'm bringing my face-to-face techniques into this virtual session. That's how you do it. When you think about it, how does virtual impact the productivity of your individuals? It can. As leaders, you have to be tuned in. Talk to them about PIE, P-I-E. I'm going to type that in the group chat. Talk to them about your PIE. Your PIE equals your performance, your image, and your exposure. PIE, exposure, right? Performance, image, and exposure. Make sure that your individuals know how you're going to measure them, face-to-face or virtually. How much emphasis are you putting on performance, image, and exposure? These are all things to consider in a virtual environment. As you continue to shape your culture, there's 4 things that you need to do. Let me give them to you. I went too fast. You have to define, identify, communicate, and you can't forget to recognize and reward. Molly, in all of the engagement surveys that I've done in my organization, what we have to do is make sure that we continue to reward and recognize employees. 98% of employees around the world say the number one thing they want is sincere praise and recognition for a job well done. And number 2 is a feeling of being in on things. Money is always number 5 of number 6. There's lots of surveys out there. Amy said virtual meetings sometimes lack the connections that happen before and after the meeting. I agree. What if we get on earlier, Amy? What if we start off some of my longer meetings? I have everyone share something positive that has happened or is happening or they want to happen. We kick those meetings off a round robin where everyone has to share something. Allow time for check-in and type chatting. Don't necessarily need to rush the agenda. There you go. I'm with you, Amy, and Justine agreed with you as well. Identify the motivators. Talk to your people about what motivates them. Talk to them about what demotivates them. Talk to them about their challenges that they're faced with virtually and how to overcome them. Communicate, communicate, communicate. And you do this. After you do all of these things, you recognize and reward their behavior. Recognize and reward the behaviors that align to business goals. Considering all of these things, you have to start thinking about ways you can shape your culture. Last but not least, effective leaders, you help your organization and employees succeed. You do this with delegation. I could spend a whole day teaching you delegation. I'm going to give you a short synopsis, and I'm going to give you the 6 steps. I'm not going to have time to do a deep dive. I'm going to give you a very high-level overview so I can take some Q&A. The challenge with delegation is, do you find that those you trust always get the job done? Do you find that those you expect to disappoint you usually do? Do you find that you don't have enough people that you can count on? You need a bunch of mini yous. You'd rather do all of the work than delegate? What trends do you see? These are all the things that people tell me, Shawn, it's going to take me too much time to teach them. Shawn, I can do it faster myself. Shawn, I'm not going to let them take my job. You have to get over those things. None of us would be in the positions we're in today if people didn't delegate to us and people didn't trust us. So how do we do it, Shawn? You have to delegate for success. You have to empower and coach your people. Challenge them to get the work done. I remember the first time I was promoted, it was hard to give things up. The task that I excelled in, kicking down doors at the police department, writing search warrants, I loved it. But as I evolved as a leader, I learned to place more importance on the development of my people. I cared more about the development of my people than I did my own development. In doing so, I delegated. I became effective at delegating because I realized that good delegation is the foundation for being an effective leader. The challenge is balancing the need to get all of the work done and invest in the right amount of time that my people need and the energy to help them get the work done. Not necessarily the way I want it. See, some delegators, they want them to do it, Molly, how they do it. Give them the autonomy, mastery, and purpose to feel safe and to get things done using their own creativity, using their own autonomy and their own purpose. And when you do that, you're going to help them grow. Here are the steps for effective delegating, a very high level. Number 1, you set the goal or the result that you're seeking. Number 2, you create accountability. Number 3, you define support and resources. Number 4, collaborate on a plan. Step away, but stay connected. And always follow up and review. Those are the 5 steps, 6 steps to effectively delegating. Right? If someone said, Patricia said, delegation and skill development is an expectation of anyone in leadership. Wouldn't we all love to go on a 10-day vacation and know that things would go well? Yes, we would, Patricia. And we have to do that. But we have to trust our people. We have to trust that they can get the job done. You have to give them room to make mistakes. As I wrap this up, effective leaders ensure that business thrives and employees perform their best. You find ways to grow your relationships internally and externally. You help the organization and employees succeed. Do you have what it takes? Yes. It requires effort, discipline, and leadership. All of you have it. I challenge you now to think about what you're going to do immediately following this course, what you're going to do next week, and what you're going to do the next month. I'm going to give you 1 minute to do that. I'm going to put a couple things up in the chat room. I challenge you. I challenge all of you to do the things that you need to do. Alrighty. Before I move to Q&A, I'm going to offer some freebies for those of you that's on the call today. right? I am going to give everyone that's here today, I'm going to give you a free everything disc. So you get a everything disc personality, and you'll get your agile EQ, right? There's a rising need for emotional intelligence in the workplace. 90% of individual contributors say that agility is more important to their success now than 5 years ago. 95% of managers and above said that agility is more important to their organizations to help them grow. And 97% of leaders agree that developing emotional intelligence is crucial to building an agile workforce. We're going to offer you a free assessment. All you have to do is email us and I'll give you my email address on the last slide. It's info@shawnkwoods.com. And in the subject line, just say free agile EQ. We'll send you the assessment. We'll also offer you a free 20-minute session around your assessment. You will have a designated time to do it, and we will give that to 50 people. We have 34 on the call, so we had planned to give it to up to 50 people. I will also I'll send Justine a sample profile, and she can send it out to you. And I'll send her a couple other things that you could use. Question and answer. You can raise your hand. We can unmute. You can type it in the chat box. You can send it to Justine.
Shawn, actually, I'm going to interject. This is amazing. I actually got an email from someone who had a call in, and when you were discussing some of the drawbacks to virtual meetings, the reason she called in is one of those drawbacks. She has a daughter at home who's doing school. She's on a Zoom meeting. They only have one Zoom account, so she couldn't get on the Zoom call that way. So that would be the drawback there, is that people with these families who their kids are doing virtual school, it's hard to do both. And then also, depending on your Wi-Fi situation, how good your connection is going to be. So that makes it difficult when you have multiple people working from home and going to school to have a virtual meeting.
I totally agree. Some of the things that I suggest you do and that works well, try to plug in. It's me. I have multiple things going on in my household as well. I'm plugged directly into my Ethernet. You can get a long Ethernet cord. Since I've been going directly through my Ethernet, I have had no interruptions. It has been seamlessly. I can't say I won't have any, but you have to practice. If everyone's on, everything that we do is virtual, is wireless now. So our cell phones, so sometimes if you're having a bad connection, you can turn off Wi-Fi on every device not being used, but plug directly into your Ethernet. Sometimes we have to just go out, and a lot of companies are offering credits. A lot of my clients, they're offering credits on internet for their people working from home. Ask your bosses, ask your leaders, what can you do? Good question though, and sometimes we just have to do it.
That was for Sydney. So Sydney, thumbs up to you.
Okay. Someone said, any tips to help extroverted people feel more comfortable in virtual meetings? I would say, Brian, that introverted people, right, they might be a little bit more comfortable on virtual because they're not in the spotlight. They can type their things up. They can do spell check. And what I say, the best tip when you're introverted is to just get out there and start practicing it. When you're on virtual meetings, make it your duty. I'm going to talk 2 to 3 times on each meeting. I will ask several questions. Take an opportunity to facilitate a virtual meeting. Practice makes perfect. It's like, Molly, sometimes people come to us and say, teach us how to be public speakers. Well, I can give you all of the philosophy about presentation skills, but until you step out there and start presenting, you won't get it. So Brian, just get out there, start doing it slowly, and engulf yourself. Any others? I'm open. Q&A. You can type them in. You can type Justine, she'll tell me.
Shawn, is there a theme or a certain question you find when you're presenting that you get from multiple people?
The questions vary. I can't say there's a theme. Most people want to know, how do I effectively communicate? And I say you just have to learn how to flex your style. Understand personality styles, and that's why I'm offering like a free disc assessment that's going to let individuals know, like, I'm a dominant style. If I look at my disc, dominance, influential, steady, and conscientious. Because I'm dominant, though, I can't pigeonhole myself. I would say the thing that we get asked a lot is, how do I match my style? And how do I communicate with someone that's different than me? And that's called flexing. You have to be able to empathize and put yourselves in their shoes, flex your style, right? Ask questions. Don't pigeonhole. I can't pigeonhole you and say, I'm talking to you this way because I'm dominant. I'm an ex-football player. I'm an ex-cop. I grew up in the inner city projects on the west side of Chicago. If I'm talking to you and you're dominant, I have to be dominant and straightforward. That's flexing. If I talk to you and you're a people person, I have to say, hey, the sun's shining bright today. It's supposed to rain later. Take an umbrella. Now let's talk about your report. If you're a steady person, harmonious, Justine, I have to say, I like your report. You're not going to get fired. We have to talk about number 3. And if you're an analytical, conscientious person, I have to say, Laura, it's a 96% probability that Molly's going to kick this thing back. Let's look at number 4. Second sentence, the third word in, you have to be more analytical. Flex your style. Any others? Give me some questions. I want them. Molly said, how do we help people with feeling joy in a virtual world when people are really tired of the new norm? We are tired of the new norm and we want things to go back. And that's part of that change, Molly, that we have to just be open. Sometimes we have to say, it's the new norm. We're tired of it, but we can spend most of our time talking about the bad, or let's talk about ways we can embrace it. Since it is the new norm, we have to get people. I challenge people. Like when I'm coaching Molly, I'll say, this happened to you. Now, what are you going to do about it? Because it's the 90-10 rule. Most of the people spend 90% of their time, energy, and efforts on what happened. It's a pandemic. We can't do what we normally do. We can't do this. We can't do that. And only 10% of what they're going to do. And those are the people that's going to get swallowed up in it. Instead, we need to reverse it. 10% on what happened to me and 90%. What can I do moving forward? How can we? What do we do? So we minimize the stress, and that's through effective conversations, because we're all tired of it, but it's here. It's probably going to get worse. So what do we do? Suggested reading resources? Yes. Situational leadership styles? Yes. I will send you some, Brian. If you can email me, I'll send you some resources on situational leadership and some more information on it. I teach it for Blanchard. I'll definitely send you some things. Let me also put my email up there. It's info@shawnkwoods.com. Remember, and Justina send you out a reminder, we're going to offer you up a free assessment. And also, I'll also send the full outline for this course. This is a 6-hour course, right? 3 sessions of 6 to 9, total 6 to 9 hours. And I promise Molly and Justine, I'd try to take the best 1 hour of 6 to 9 hours of material and give it to you. So I gave you high-level overviews, and I didn't leave any meat and potatoes out. I gave you some nuggets that you can use right now today. Any other questions for me? I am here. I'll let you go. It's 9:30. It's 1 hour, but I am not in a rush. If anyone has any questions, I will stay here until the last person logs off. And Justine, I will send you those documents so that you can send out to the team.
That would be great. Yes. Oh, Amy just popped a question in there. How do we counteract Zoom fatigue? People are becoming less willing to want to take a meeting due to this.
I agree. You know what? I would say where you can, Amy, try to do some face-to-face and practice social distancing, right? One of my coaching clients is group coaching. We normally do Zoom. I'm going into their location today. I'm going to mask up with my N95 and my face shield, but I'm going to go into their office today. We have a big conference room. We'll spread out. So just mix it up a little bit. Telephone, all of those things. Long-term care, so it's not allowed. Yeah, then that's a challenge. Once again, you just have to let people know, Amy, I know we're getting Zoom fatigue. We're getting Zoom burned out. So what can we do to make it interesting? It goes back to my 3 questions. What's the worst that can happen? We're here and we can't do anything about it. How do we proceed on expecting the best and prepared for the worst? Thank you, Brian. It was great being here. Such an honor being here. The biggest challenge, my friends, that we have to do is just embrace it. right? I love traveling. I love getting my miles. I have over 1 million airline miles on 2 different airlines. I can stay in hotels probably 2 years without spending $1. I'm not getting any more of those miles, right? So I hate that I can't travel, but you wouldn't know that on this Zoom. I'm happy, I'm smiling because I have embraced the new normal.
Awesome. Yes, we're at our time. Shawn, this is just absolutely spectacular. I look forward to getting all of that information, and I will send that out to our attendees today. And I will definitely be emailing you for the DISC assessment. I think that'll be awesome and a great way to, maybe that's a meeting to have with your team, is everyone do the DISC assessment and really get together on learning about each other's leading styles. So thank you so much. Thank you to everyone for being here. We look forward to seeing you at next month's Business Builder Breakfast, and everyone have a great rest of your week.
And thanks for having me.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Shawn. That was really uplifting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Such an honor to be here.
And then there were 3.
There's Sarah, Chris.
All right. I don't know anybody else.
There's
Shawn,
Chris.
that was awesome. Thank you so much.
That was fantastic.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure being here. Like I told you, I took 6 to 9 hours as I promised you, Molly and Justine, and I didn't just give you a high level. I gave you some of the meat and potatoes that I talk about in those full programs to try to give them the nuggets to go back and really apply them. I'll also, as I promised you, Justine, I'll also follow up. I'll look at the group chat. I'll look at some of the things that individuals said. We'll summarize, and I'll send you out a few nuggets that you can send out to the group. And just remember, I have, and this is something that you can do, Molly and Justine, I have 50 free assessments that we allocated that we were going to give away. We only had 34 people on the call. If anyone wants them, make sure you get them out there. It can even be some of your partners, some of your sponsors, if you want to give them something, but they just have to email us, because I have to keep a log on. They have to email us at the info@ShawnKWoods.com. All they have to do is say, send me the free DISC assessment or free Agile EQ, any way they want to put it, and we'll get it out. So even if it's some people who were not on the call today, don't worry about that, and that they signed up, but they didn't make the call. We'll make sure that we give them that.
That sounds awesome. I know that Justine and I have already